Nothing vast enters the life of mortals without a curse. Sophocles. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Thought Process. I'm here with my brother Greg. Today, we're doing part 2 of the social dilemma. In fact, we're actually going to be watching the movie as we go. So bear with us if there's some dead air. We're going to try to fill it in as much as we can. But we're just going to hit play. If you guys wanted to watch it, we'll give you guys maybe like 5 minutes or so. Greg and I will just catch up from the week, and then we'll hit play, and hopefully you guys can join us on our YouTube page, join the live chat, and interact with us. And hopefully we get someone to come on and give us some feedback and comments on what you guys think in regards to the social dilemma that is social media.
Well, welcome back, guys. Go check out the Instagram. There's a really cool video that we put up on there. It probably posted over to Facebook as well. But go check it out. It's just an introduction into us going live tonight.
So what's up, man?
Nothing much, just hanging out. Oh, we're not gonna start with that. I'll put that down.
I think we'll give some people to some time in case they wanted to just watch it with us. But if not, we can just get into it and then we'll go from there.
Well, we were talking last week about me getting that exercise bike and the comfortability of having having some kind of exercise within the house. And I was talking to Robert at the Halloween party we had, the birthday party.
Uh-huh.
And he was saying he understood exactly what I was talking about. And so just an update on that. The day I got it was kind of into the week, so I did 30 miles that week. And I'm 40 miles in this week. So tomorrow morning I have to do 10 miles to have my goal of 50 miles a week. And I'm leaving to go to Arizona around noon, so I have to make sure to get it in before that.
You said that it was taking you somewhere between 3 hours? No, an hour?
10 miles? No, it's like 30 to 40 minutes.
Oh, 40 minutes.
But I kind of have it between like 32 and 36 minutes.
That's a pretty good pace. So how are you feeling so far?
So far, I haven't gotten sore, but it's made me feel, I don't know, I don't feel tired from it, but it wakes me up a little bit more.
So do you think you have more
alertness?
Do you think you have more energy now?
I think in this sense, yes, because I'm not taxing my body enough to just be like, I'm done for the day.
But I mean, when we were working out back in the day, I make it sound like we're 50 years old. When we were working out, for me, even though I was sore, I had a different energy level. Like I was sore, but I was, like you said, more alert, more awake, more aware of things. I wasn't as tired.
Yeah, but no, at that time it was like, I'm going to do this because I'm badass, because I can tell people I did this. But then outside of doing that, I could barely walk, and I would roll out of my bed and do a push-up to get up. There's a difference. Now I feel like I'm getting something done, but I'm not hurting. And it's not putting me to bed at 10 o'clock every night. I still have enough energy to stay up late if I feel like I want to. It's not, at the end of the day, I'm not just falling on my bed ready to.
It sounds like you're enjoying more of the functionality.
Yeah.
It's the functionality. Your body's more, a little bit more loose.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
because I feel like tightness nowadays. If I sit on the computer for however many hours I'm doing work,
mm-hmm.
my right knee will start kind of getting tight, and I have to kind of warm up to get out or to get up and start walking. I can't just power walk to the kitchen.
Yeah,
I have to get up. I'm like, oh man, my knee's a little tight. So actually, this week I made a decision to start working out again. I don't know, man. It's been such a long time, dude. It's like people say, when you are gonna start something new, the hardest part is to get started. And I think that's where I'm at right now. So I'm trying to overcome that. We're having a couple of brews just because this episode's gonna be really, really deep. And also, why not? It's Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah, these are 0 calorie, duh.
Not 0 calorie.
To tell you the truth, I'm actually really surprised about how the like White Claws and Trulies and seltzer type drinks are so much more popular now. And I was thinking about it, like there's one that's like 0 calories. Forget which one it is, but I think it's Truly, isn't it?
I'm not sure which one
In
it is.
that sense, like, is it better that people are drinking these now? I'm curious if there's a better effect now, in a sense.
Well, the thing is about alcohol is that alcohol will stop you. It'll kind of shock your system in a way where, let's say that you worked out, right?
Mm-hmm.
The alcohol itself will stop the muscle growth. So, if there's nothing wrong with drinking it, but you like, let's say you have goals. If you're talking about it in a nutrition aspect, if you want to like lose weight or you want to, gain a little bit of muscle, the alcohol will actually hinder you. So it doesn't even matter if all the other calories aren't there.
But these are not these are not the same as a liquor. These are fermented drinks. So it's not actual like vodka and it's not beer. It's a fermented drink. So it'd be just like eating, what's that thing you eat that's it's kind of like sauerkraut. I don't know. It is. Is it sauerkraut? It's fermented.
Oh, kimchi?
Yeah.
It's fermented, but it's not.
So it's kind of the same concept. But if there's no calories in it, then there's no.
Honestly, dude,
there's no direct effect that way.
I don't know what kind of alcohol it contains. To be honest, I have no idea. So I think that well, we're still at 0 viewers, so we're just gonna hit play, and so again, so we'll go back a little bit. Last week we started talking about The Social Dilemma, the Netflix documentary that just aired a few months ago. It's basically about the issue that we're facing with tech companies, particularly social media platforms, how they, one, monetize people, and two, how they are actually influencing and manipulating the human race. And then there's a lot of things that go into that. So, there's mental health, there's basically that we're a product, but we'll get into that. And there's a lot to get into. So I kind of wanted to reflect a little bit on this quote that we just read, Greg. Yeah. So I'll read it one more time. It goes like this: nothing vast enters the life of mortals without a curse. Sophocles. So to me, you can apply that to basically everything. If we want to talk about it in a way of technology, technology has been great for human beings, but also it's brought a lot of devastation. One example would be the atomic bomb. It ended a war, but also killed thousands of people in the process. We have cars, but we're not at a place where, fossil fuels are going to be stopped, or we're not using fossil fuels anymore, which is polluting our air. Elon Musk is changing that, but I don't know what. I mean, I'm sure that one day we'll find something that's wrong with Teslas too.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty, but yeah, it's just like whenever you learn something new. Cavemen learned how to make a fire so they could cook their food, and then they burned down a forest. So yeah, everything yin and yang.
It's the balance, right? Yeah. So that's the way I see this quote. So let's hit play, Greg, and let's get into the episode, man.
Yeah, go ahead and hit it. I'll just explain the first scene while we're watching it too. In the first scene, it shows a man sit down to be interviewed, and asked if he's comfortable. Like, do you need a drink or anything like that? Like how like if I were to walk into your house, kind of concept. And he says that he's comfortable, and then um, his phone rings. Like he gets a notification, and he looks at it, and then they cut the scene, just to try to start the thing off with like, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, it shows a few of the people that they're interviewing throughout the entire movie at the very beginning, in kind of like a pre-interview setting, like as they sit down in the chair, like what do you say to them before you turn the camera on, kind of thing.
So something that I noticed about these people is that how nervous and reluctant they are to talk about the subject. Like obviously they agreed to be here, but they don't seem thrilled about it. You know, everyone kind of has this demeanor which you can tell that there may be consequences about going and going public with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, or a non-popular idea, I guess.
So, when you first started watching this movie, Greg, what were your first impressions just watching this?
Well, at first I was watching the very beginning. It was like you're just asking some questions, and the people just they make them look nervous. But if you think about it, these people, like even though they're not part of these companies anymore, they're very successful. Hands down.
They're actually really, really smart, and that's what scares me. Honestly, that is literally what scared me about this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I found it very insightful and informative, but also this is like a Halloween movie. Because if you want to talk about real life threats to the human race, this is it.
Well, some people have, it's like that. Some people have gifts that they don't like. Like they may be good at something. Like these people obviously had to have been good at coming up with some kind of plan to manipulate us without going too deep into the movie. Manipulate us or manipulate some kind of thing, our information, to use it in a way. So they're good manipulators, but they may not actually like manipulating people.
Okay, so this is something that they make clear at the beginning of the movie. It's that the intention was good.
Mm-hmm.
When they first started developing these social media platforms, the intention was there. It was good. You know, today, this is something that I did today, Greg. Today, I messaged my nephew in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And we had a full-blown conversation through Instagram. He was telling me how he wanted to, his aspirations. We got pretty deep into the conversation. And, I in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to have this podcast. And this is actually one of the arguments, like I said, one of the things that it's technology. It's a double-edged sword. Isn't it crazy that we have a free, well, I wouldn't say free service, but no cost to us service that allows me to talk to my nephew miles away from here? Now that is amazing. Back in the day, I remember in Mexico before I came here, my mom came here first. I would have to walk miles to the nearest telephone, mm-hmm. which was in a store. And then my mom, she would have to go to the store, buy a international phone, international like data network thing that, she would punch in a code and then it would give her certain minutes. And we did that for a year. Like every week or every other day, she would go buy, I would think back in the day it was like $5 for like 45 minutes worth of talk time. And imagine, like that was the life back then. But now, at the touch of a button, you're literally connected to a person across the world. Mm-hmm. So let's just keep that in mind as we go into while we go into this movie here. So it seems to me that the intention was good. There was a lot of positive things in the world through social media. They mentioned that you could find a organ transplant across the world because of social media. But now the flip side is, this is what they didn't intend, right? The flip side is, well, with all these good things, there's also a price you have to pay. And well, you took notes, Greg. So if you want to jump into your notes a little bit, I can definitely pause wherever we need to.
Oh, you can keep it going because a lot of it is kind of just repeating between a few different people, so you can kind of take it as fact whatever they say because multiple people said it. But
I also don't want to I want people to watch this movie. I don't want to paraphrase everything. I really want to get into how and what we think about it, and what your perspective is, and what my perspective is on it. So, I'll let you go ahead and read off your notes if you like.
So all the people that they're interviewing, they'll show different. You can hit play because it'll keep going through it. They all explain to the people that were being interviewed like what companies they have worked for, and then they kind of go into detail what they did specifically. But I'm just gonna read off the different companies that all these people were part of.
Okay.
There's Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, Apple, Twitter. One of the ladies said she worked for Palm, and I didn't know what that was. And I looked at the only thing I could find was there's this cell phone that's like the size of a credit card called Palm, and it was like pay as you use kind of thing. And then Mozilla Labs, Firefox, Pinterest, Google Drive, Gmail chat, Facebook pages, and the Facebook like button. One of the guys was part of the team who came up with the like button concept. And the whole concept behind that he was talking about was to
spread positivity.
To spread positivity, and not that eventually down the line people are mad that they don't have 1,000 likes like this person and only 500 over here. So, I mean, I could understand that, but
so
it's what people take and see, because it's the same thing as like if you get a new pair of sunglasses and I'm wearing the same pair for 5 years, I may be like, oh look, you got some new ones, I'm jealous now. But it's not even a big deal.
Well, the thing about that is that it directly plays into our human nature, how we want to fit in.
It's greed. It's one of the natural things we have.
Exactly. It's both greed and lust, right? And maybe it was intended for positivity, but then down the line they didn't think about the effects it would have on mental health. Like us, we only have 47 subscribers, guys. What the fuck? You're killing me.
Get on it.
You're killing me.
Hit the notification bell. Hit the subscribe.
Make us feel validated in this world.
So all the people interviewed are also voicing concern. They're talking. Each person has a different kind of concern that they talk about individually. But like the main one is they're saying like, what's the problem with what we made? Like the problem with the like button was not that we put a like button, was that people are upset that someone has more like buttons than they do. So it's more or less the community that has changed what was created in the first place. So it's like a car. First you come out with a car, then you come out with a car with a gun on it, then you come out with a car with a bazooka on it, and then it became something that you didn't even create in the first place for it.
Well, I think you have a good point there. The car was invented to travel to places, but no one was thinking about people driving under the influence.
Sure.
So that's like a severe side effect to something good that we all have, yet it's literally deadly in some cases.
And the part that you're on right now, it's a bunch of news channels showing like horrific things that happened in foreign countries that would use I think they mainly talk about like Facebook. They use Facebook as like a propaganda machine to push whatever message they had. Like this person was bad or that person, and then people just take it as fact because they don't have any other form of information.
Well,
And
let's get in a little bit into that. The notes that I try to show you that they didn't come up. This I actually remember. So actually, Facebook around the globe has been used by extremists to push their propaganda, to consolidate groups, to build groups, and then target people.
mm-hmm.
So, like I said, like I'm using it over here, talking to my nephew who's miles away, but there's someone out there who is using it in a way where it's they're using it in a way to inflict harm upon people.
Yeah.
And that to me is just crazy.
Mm-hmm. And the other part of the show, that they have so many different segments and they wrap it all together. It's actually pretty good. So like they'll show news clips. They have the people they're interviewing, and then they have this family that they introduce, almost kind of like a TV show they put into this show.
Mm-hmm.
And the family consists of, I mean, we can only assume mom and dad and 3 kids. So there's a oldest daughter, a middle son, and then a young daughter.
Yeah.
And there's so much that goes into that story that I'll start going down as they introduce it onto the show. But the main person that they kind of interview throughout the whole show is a guy named Tristan Harris. And the description for him is he's an American ethicist. Is that ethicist?
Yeah.
A computer scientist and a business person. He is the president and co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology. So he saw the issues that were coming into the platforms that he was working on, which I think was Gmail.
Gmail was one of the main ones.
I think it was Gmail and Google for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to design it to be more or to
Less
be less
addictive.
addicting and still a useful tool.
Right.
And one of the main things he talked about is a tool is not used. A tool is not grabbing your attention. You don't just pick up a hammer just because you want to pick up a hammer. You pick up the hammer because you need to nail something in the wall.
Right.
And that was his point. Like, it shouldn't just be something that you constantly are trying to get their attention to come and see.
Yeah, they sold it as a tool, but it shortly became an addiction.
Well, it's like email. Do you check your personal email? Like, you have a work email, which is different. But do you check your personal email?
So, this is the thing, okay? If you've noticed, the notifications that I get on my email is like, okay, so mine's linked to my calendar, right? So my calendar would kind of send me like a notification saying, hey, you need to do this today.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I get that little ding,
yeah,
it's a trigger. Like, oh, I have to get this done today. And it's so good that sometimes I feel weird if I don't hear it. I'm like, I don't have anything today. And so I can see where the problem is. The problem is where it's kind of they're designed to trigger you in a way to just grab your attention, like you said. So, I mean, outside of that, I don't get too many spam emails. So I'm not like constantly on my email, my personal one, but work one is different.
Yeah. So another part is there's where they interview Tristan, but there's this part that you're actually looking at now, where he stands on a stage like he's gonna be doing some kind of like TED Talk kind of concept.
Yeah, he's preparing for a conference.
And in the conference, he wants to talk about like the general bad outcomes of the social media that he's worked on specifically, and then he goes deeper into that as the show goes on. But he's mainly talking about the concept he calls ethical design, so just making sure that it's not affecting people in more ways. Use it as a tool than a way of life.
Right. And so, what do you think about that, Greg? What do you think about the fact that these things were created as a tool? And I heard from I think I heard it from Jack Dorsey that Twitter was actually a way for them to communicate within the company, right? And then it just became this public community discourse.
It's crazy. A lot of these things have been like monetized. Like TikTok to me makes no sense. I understand that people may like it, but I don't understand how these. I mean, a lot of them have gotten a little older now, but when it kind of started, there were like 16 to 20-year-olds who now are driving around Bentleys and Ferraris because they danced in a video on this platform. Like that to me is insane. Like like I understand how these companies use them in a driving force to make them more money, so it's worth it advertisement wise. But it's just I think it's created a lot of negative concepts.
I I don't think that I've been on TikTok. Like the TikToks that I see, they're usually like on Instagram.
The only reason I know of TikTok stuff is through YouTube because they use the multiple concepts.
There we go. There we go. So TikTok was founded here, but it belongs to China. There was this whole discourse about TikTok that they were trying to ban it, but eventually Walmart bought it or something like that. I think
it was technically a Chinese company, but it was created in the United States. So, yeah, I don't know the whole concept. They were going to ban it because China was stealing general data. Information from U.S. citizens,
right?
And so Trump put something in place to make it where they were going to ban it unless they followed certain protocols. But I didn't look into what that was. But yeah, it had something to do with Walmart.
So how exactly? So is it like, are these people that are on TikTok? The whole dancing, the whole thing is about, grabbing your attention and retaining it there. Yeah. That's the goal of the social media platforms, to grab your attention and retain it as long as possible. But so was TikTok, you watch a TikTok, then it's a commercial, and then it's like another TikTok, or like, I don't know how it works. See, like Instagram, you'll be like swiping on your feed, and then there's like a sponsored post, or you're watching stories, and then it's a sponsored post.
As far as I know, I don't think there's advertisements like YouTube. Like you start a video and there's an advertisement, but I think there's like little ads that come up, like Coca-Cola or like Skittles, taste the rainbow. Like, but I think the majority of where the money comes from is the influence, as in she's wearing a shirt from American Eagle. You want to find this shirt, then it links in the description.
Okay, that's
a company pays her to drink a soda at the start of all her videos. Those kind of things. Because
so, do you want to talk a little bit about the business, like what is it called? Not the business process.
What do you mean? Like how these people get this kind of money?
Yeah, the business model.
Let's say on TV, Budweiser pays $100,000 to put the commercial in.
Yes.
Because they know that, let's say, 100,000 people are watching. It's the same thing. If you know if you know that this person who does TikTok, and each time they do a TikTok video, 1.5 million views, how much are you gonna pay for that 1.5 million views? There's more views on that than there is on this normal TV. Should we advertise there, or should we advertise on TV? Let's go over there.
Right, but the business model for these platforms has become it's a way to, so
they're pretty much advertisements in themselves. They're doing they're Super Bowl commercials with a commercial being thrown on top of it. It's a commercial within a commercial.
Yeah.
You could probably remove commercials from normal TV and throw in TikTokers or some kind of YouTube video as a commercial break, and to probably increase your viewers.
Yeah. Dude, you just gave them another idea.
But the guy that we were talking about,
So Tristan.
mm-hmm. he talks about that never before has there been something to where a few people can say or do something that affects what was the number? Over 2 billion people.
2 billion people.
So if they decide that, hey, today Twitter has 2 billion users and Twitter wants to push something, guarantee anyone who has Twitter, they have the ability to send out a notification to every single one of them. If they want to send a notification that says, hey, we're closing Twitter by 2 billion people see that. Or if they want to send a message that says, hey, if you don't do 2 push-ups today, the world's going to end. So like they have, these 50 designers have the ability to control
and manipulate information
one part of the day. Yeah.
That'll affect 2 billion people.
They can make someone think something. They can send out a notification that says it's going to rain today.
Have you?
And everyone, all 2 billion people will think it's going to rain today.
Have you seen on Instagram how they're Instagram and Facebook how they're pushing voting? Every time I open the app,
everyone's pushing voting, but you can see like biases in their commercials.
Well, not the bias. Every time I open the app, let's say it's like a new day today, and it's the first time I'm opening the app. It will say, "Have you registered yet to vote?" And then I usually click like X, and then I won't see it, and then until I open the app again.
Yeah.
So, what we're saying is just by doing that, would you say that's influencing you're influencing the election?
No, because that's just saying to vote, to do the action.
Right, but they're not like a public service utility.
Yeah, but they're not saying how to vote.
Right.
And that's where the issue is.
But wouldn't you say, okay, so I don't know if you want to get into that now. Maybe I'll save it. I'll come back to this point because this is like an hour in, you know.
So we'll go back to Tristan then.
Yeah.
He wrote up when he was still working for the Gmail team. He wrote up a presentation about ethical design and sent it to like the closest people he worked with, like 15, 20 people, he said. And then he was working on this for a while. He said he would work on it like 1-2 hours at the end of his work day. And he created this presentation about the ethical design. And one day he finished it, so he sent it out. And the next day when he went to work, it seemed like those few people had sent it to everyone else, and it seemed like it had made its rounds and everyone has seen it. And so he started receiving emails from different people within the company saying that they agreed with his presentation and that they've had the same ideas but didn't know how to come up with something. And then Larry Page is one of the co-founders of Google, and he was also presented. He said that the guy was presented it
a couple times.
3 different meetings within the day, but unless he was involved in the meeting, who knows? But then he said that it seemed like the whole company was all in on it, and then all of a sudden just
disappeared.
No one cared.
The momentum was gone,
and no one was trying to do anything about it.
And what do you think? Why do you think that happened?
Because the business is not going. It's like a barbecue restaurant saying like,
we're not gonna
don't eat
barbecue.
our ribs, eat our salad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and and if you're the co-founder or you're the president of this company, you would have done the same.
Yeah, it's just like why restaurants now they'll have their vegan options, and it's like 5 items in the far back corner of their menu. Because they want to be able to say they have these options, but they really just don't care.
Right.
Because those foods aren't designed to be restaurant foods. Like if you go most places, these vegan like food places or like specialty foods that aren't necessarily as popular as most foods, they're not that busy. Like you'll get busier places than others, but typically it's just not as useful.
Yeah. It's just there. So apparently Google Google was one of the first platforms to ever use this business model that was advertising.
Yeah.
And so the person who, do you remember this guy's name? The person
I think I have it written down here.
Well, what else do you have on this Tristan guy?
This might be this guy's name. I thought it was a different guy.
He's the guy from
no,
Facebook.
Jaron Lanier is the guy with the dreads.
But we'll get to that guy, right?
So I don't think I have this guy's name.
So
I'll look for it. Go ahead.
Basically, the person who was in charge of monetizing Facebook at the time before Google, because Google was the first platform to do so, he was basically in charge of finding a way to monetize, to change the business model into advertisements and making money that way. So basically,
but he did say there was a few different options, but the best option was advertisement.
Yeah, best money maker is advertisement or sponsorship. And so now the way it works is we all think that the service is free because it doesn't cost us anything. All you have to do is put in your information and you can surf the web for free, right? But that's not the case. What's the name of the guy? The founder of VR or the creator of VR?
What? The guy with the dreads was the creator of VR?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yes.
I don't remember that. But his name is Jaron Lanier. He was also the author of a book called 10 Arguments for Deleting Your Social Media Accounts Right Now. And he was talking about how we're being sold to advertisers. So the advertisers want to show us things that we will want. But they don't want to show you, like, let's see, what's something that you typically have that I don't like? They'll send you advertisements for sparkling water because they can see that you typically buy sparkling water. So if you buy Perrier, but there's a new company out there called Swag, and Swag wants to sell more, they're going to pay these guys to tell you, come buy this sparkling water Swag instead of Perrier.
To get in front of the feed.
But if they were to advertise that to me, I don't buy it in the first place. They're kind of wasting the money on paying for me.
Exactly.
So now that's where the data comes in, and where these people will say, "Hey, I know who would have a higher chance of buying your product. Give me your advertisement for this much, and we'll send them your advertisement, and they'll more than likely buy your product."
So that's yes, and also we have to realize that every company is competing for our attention. Instagram, Facebook. Well, I mean, Facebook bought Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. What was the other one? Google, Mozilla, Fox, Pinterest. All these companies, all these social media platforms, they're competing for our attention because it's our attention that is paying. It's well. Here we go. This is plays directly into what I'm saying. Here's a quote by, what's his name? Jeremy what?
Jaron Lanier.
By Jaron Lanier. It goes like this. It's the gradual, slight, imperceptible change in your own behavior and perception that is the product.
There's something you missed right before that. That was also a quote. It says, if you're not paying for the project, then you are the product.
Okay. And so I'll repeat this one again. It's the gradual, slight, imperceptible change in your own behavior and perception that is the product. Mm-hmm. Basically, they're saying, if I can get this person to view this product and buy it, that is the action is the product. Yeah. You subconsciously clicking onto the link and buying it is the product of what these social media platforms are selling.
Yeah, so think about this. Some people get paid every week. Some people get paid every other Tuesday. Some people get paid every 3 days. So if the advertisement companies want to sell more of some random product and they can advertise it to you on your payday when you're like, okay, I paid off my bills, I have extra money. Would they not rather do that than just throw out some random advertisements on days that you're not willing to buy things? And that's where the data is at.
That's where it comes into play.
Yeah. And that's where it becomes not necessarily so dangerous or anything.
So that's the thing about this, that there's no immediate danger there's no lion, there's no shark, there's not someone with a gun on your head saying you better buy this.
Yeah, it's self-control.
It's the self-control is what we're missing here.
Mm-hmm.
And basically this business model is using your own data against you to be able to tap into your own psychology, to figure out your psychology, how you work, so that they can get better at selling you things.
Think about it like this. Have you seen the Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah.
You know how in the movie they do those parts where they slow it down and he starts talking to you, and he's like, the stain on the collar, yes, the chip in the shoe, the dust on his foot. He just gets all this data about you, and then he can tell you what the next move is. That's exactly what they're doing. They're Sherlock Holming all your information, and then they know what you're doing next, and they can predict it, and they can affect it in some way.
It's funny funny how you said it.
And that's what he said. The more data you have, the better your decisions can be. And that applies in everyday life. If you can make a better decision on which job to take, you're going to have a better outcome.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, man. This is man, it doesn't show his name. Oh, there it is.
And he says that we're talking about Jaron Lanier still. He says all types of metrics are tracked. What images, how long you're looking at those images, and they can start seeing emotion based off of images and times and how you've said things, and they'll track all of that to bring it back to use for advertisement. So if you're sad, they may advertise The Notebook.
Right.
If you're happy, they may advertise Pharrell's song I'm So Happy,
right,
or so on and so forth.
Yeah,
they're trying to get you into the genre of where you're at the moment.
So I want to talk a little bit about this what? I can't see.
Jaron
Lanier, founding father of virtual reality. What?
Oh, okay. So he
dude, but
dude,
first of all,
this guy looks. His looks, dude.
He's from the Matrix.
Yeah, dude. You can tell he's very smart. He was that weird kid in school who just knew everything.
Do you think this kid has seen some shit?
Oh, definitely, dude. That guy has created things that you wouldn't even think exist.
Dude, well, now that really quick that we're on this virtual reality, he's the founding father of virtual reality. The day that we were at your house with Marcelo playing Half-Life 3?
We played a bunch of different games, but yeah.
I could not believe the accuracy, the visuals, how crisp everything was. It's so submersive that I couldn't tell what was reality anymore.
It's submersive body-wise too, because you get sick. Because your body is like you're doing something, but you're not. And that's the weirdest thing, because you're always consciously knowing it's not real. Just like if I sit down in front of the computer and play a popular like World of Warcraft or Counter-Strike or Fortnite or any of that, you know it's not real, and it doesn't necessarily affect you outside of your eyes. You might get ruined because of the screen. But that's a different concept.
But Greg, what if you spent long enough time in it that you would lose yourself in it? Kind of like the concept that Inception. He had to have this what is it called?
Dreidel kind of thing.
Yeah, in order for him to kind of like pinch himself to see if he was dreaming or not. And just talking about this virtual reality, we just plugged into the Matrix. If you go into our Instagram, that's literally what I would picture if we were actually plugging into the Matrix. Like, wouldn't you say that this is sort of like we're like the Matrix, what we're doing right now, where people can watch us on YouTube, people can listen to this podcast on every platform?
I think it's because imagine you were born with a VR headset on and you never had taken it off. There'd be a difference.
What if that's your eyes?
We know about
but
the Matrix.
What if that is your brain and your eyes?
No, I know, but you wouldn't know outside of that.
But that's what I'm saying.
You wouldn't know that you could do this and take the headset off. Like, it's the same thing with, like, some people don't learn how to read. They don't know that that's a thing. We do because we know how to do it.
But so that's what I'm saying.
That could be a possibility.
That's what I'm saying is, what if this whole other, like us creating virtual reality, what if that is the dream within a dream? Isn't that crazy to think about that?
That's what I say at the same time. Is it bad that you don't know a lot? Like, isn't it sometimes just a blessing just to live your life?
Oh, like ignorance is bliss?
Yeah, like as a kid, I didn't care about politics, and now it's like I gotta go home and watch some news and YouTube to keep up with stuff. But I care.
But do you? But do you have to?
Do I have to? No, but
would your life be any different if you didn't tune in?
I don't know. It could.
And I think that's my point for this podcast, is that we're so immersed into this matrix that we all have agreed upon. We all use it. What's our main point of communication? Well, I call you like every few days, but besides that, it's usually like text group chats, right?
Yeah, sometimes a group, yeah.
The group. That's basically how I communicate with all my friends. I've forgotten to give people a call, and that's why like every once in a while I give you a call like every week, because I'm trying to break this cycle. I'm telling you, there's something missing. Technology, unless it becomes surreal, so surreal that you couldn't even tell that you were in it. Like, if they build bodysuits where you're actually feeling pain or you're feeling emotions, if they're able to tap into that, then whatever, I accept it. But until then, technology will not be able to replace the human connection, the warmth of somebody. When you love somebody, the warmth that they bring to you just by being in the room. Like when you see your son after him being away for a couple of days, the warmth, you're not going to get that over a phone call. You're not going to get that over FaceTime. And we've forgotten about that. Everything's like, oh, Greg must be mad at me because he didn't like my last video. Or, Marco must be mad at me because he didn't tag me on the last picture. Like, and then also text. There's this disconnection. It's like people, we want to read between the lines and everything. Like, oh, what did he mean by that? Oh, they put, there's 333 sixes in this article. That must be the Illuminati. And it's like we're always looking into things that I feel like sometimes we're just doing it because either we've been conditioned to do so, or we're literally looking for the next big thing. Like, I was thinking about conspiracy theories just recently, and how they change the way you think. Like we'll get obsessed with something, And there's no, you have to get to the bottom of it. We just get obsessed with it. Like the rabbit holes that we do, they're fun. And when we find some shit, then it's real. And it's like, oh man, did I really want to know that? But when you can't find it, like let's say aliens, we still haven't seen like real proof of aliens, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like the biggest one. Oh, well, the government doesn't want us to see them. But it's like the thought is so sexy and attractive that we won't let it go. It's like, when are we going to move on? Like, I'm willing to accept aliens when I see them. Until then, I mean, I don't know if they're real. So like, how many hours of watching UFO videos? I mean, we're probably still going to do it, because it's fun. But how much time are we going to be wasting on I mean, in the Matrix, man? I mean, I don't know how else to put it. We're not living life. It's basically how I don't know, dude. I think that's like the bottom line here. We're just not living life.
I feel like you still are. You're just living it differently. I don't know. Like,
that's a good argument, but expand on that.
Imagine being in a VR headset your whole life and experiencing going diving in Hawaii and going and parachuting out of a plane and going bungee jumping and shooting guns, and then discovering that you did that in a VR headset and then you've never actually technically done it in your body. And then now you come out and you're just like, oh man, I gotta go do these things. It's like, I mean, you have the experience. It's like having a dream. You don't come out of it and be like, I never had that dream. It feels just as real, like something happened, but then you're like, oh, it was just a dream. But you still have that experience in your mind. You can still remember it. There's always a dream that you remember it for the longest time. Like, I had a dream one night. I don't know the whole backstory or everything, but I remember walking into my living room and my dad was there sitting at like a table like this. I sat down next to him and he reached for something on the table and it was a knife and he stabbed me in the leg.
What?
Damn. And I woke up that morning and my leg hurt, and it hurt for a week. And I was so scared of my dad. I still have that memory in my head.
Damn,
I can still remember it. I can still
you
feel
think that
like
was
it
like
was
a cramp?
Yeah, it had to have been something like that.
Something like that, right?
Uh-huh.
Dude, that's crazy. Imagine. Oh my god, dude, that's so crazy. But I guess that's a good point. Like, we're still living life. It's just, it's like not metaphysical. It's like,
it's just like people who they've died for 30 seconds and they say that they saw a light and then it changes their life and they believe in God and all that. Like, did they actually feel it in real life? Or was it in their head kind of concept? Like even if you believe in an afterlife, are you are you living a real life right now? If there's an afterlife and your soul goes to heaven, like, which one's a real life? You know what I mean? Like, my point is, whatever you're experiencing is what you're living.
Yeah.
Eventually you'll die, go to heaven, or die and reincarnate as a fly, or like whatever you believe. Yeah. Whatever you're doing at the moment of when you're conscious is what you're living.
And you know what, dude? That to me is scary. The fact that we don't know scares the fuck out of me.
What does it matter? What if 31 years ago you were a dog licking some other dog's butt? You don't even know right now. So it doesn't matter. When you're a dog licking some other dog's butt, it's normal and you probably like it. Like,
right. And and something, also something we have to remember is that a thought is not a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So just because we're speculating doesn't mean that any of this is true. It's just the thing is that we don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so do you think living in like on Instagram, like, I just don't know. This is so so weird to me, so complex. I just don't know if basically when we share videos, even this, we're allowing people to be in the room with us.
Mm-hmm.
It with limited access, right? You can't say anything to me. You can't, you can't do anything here.
I mean, with
You
the
can-
chat, you can still communicate. You can be part of the conversation that without this camera, without that live recording, you wouldn't have been able to be a part of.
Yeah.
It's like, did this conversation happen if there was no one here to hear it? Or the same constantly to say, does a tree make a sound in the forest if no one's around?
Does a bear shit in the woods?
Yeah, exactly. But
Well, that's just weird how we've allowed. Okay, so going back to the social media and tying everything together, we like as humans, it's natural that we want to present ourselves in the best possible fashion.
mhm.
And Instagram does that really well. Like, oh, I'm going out for a run today. Like, you lazy motherfuckers, you're not. You're sitting there watching me run. That in itself is, it gets a lot of views because a lot of people like myself are probably sitting there like, oh man, I should have gone for a run today. But you're seeing somebody do that. And then you're putting yourself down for that reason.
Yeah.
And that's where the social media and the mental health clash. It's the you're not getting enough likes as these people. There's a false feeling of, oh man, I don't even know how to explain it. There's just like it's a false feeling that you watching somebody do something, it makes you feel a certain way that's not really there.
Well, that's one of the goals Jaren talks about. There's 3 goals that they have, and one is engagement to drive up usage, to keep you going. So regardless if it's good, bad, mediocre, if you have something to say, good or bad, that's engagement. So like you said, if you see someone running and you're upset about it, you may post something like, this is not realistic.
You could be a hater.
Yeah. Or, oh dang, that's cool. Or, oh hey, I just did that yesterday. Or reported you don't have a shirt on. Like engagement is engagement, and that's one of the things that we
That's
start
the goal.
learning is that there's more they talk about it in here, that there's more fake or more something that will take more engagement, regardless if true or not, will spread 7 times faster than something that is true. That's just not that much.
And the business model is designed to concentrate on this. Why? Because let's say a story goes viral, right? Well, it's going to be promoted everywhere. It's going to be promoted in a way where it's designed for you to look at it and maybe it's outrage. Maybe you get upset and you just want to be a Twitter night, Twitter fingers, whatever they call them.
Edward Twitter fingers.
You just want to just post comments, negative comments. I think those negativity is what spreads more in the social media, right?
Yeah.
They've learned about this through, well, I don't know if we're there yet, but man, we're only 50 minutes into the movie, dude.
Well, that's just on there, but I mean, I still have 6 more pages. But let's just talk about the goals, because the goals tie back into that.
Okay.
So there's the engagement to drive up your usage, to keep you scrolling. The other one is growth, keep you coming back and inviting your friends and getting them to invite more friends. So by you saying, oh, did you see this video? Now you got me on there. Then you got me engaging. And then you're engaging. Then we're engaging and telling someone else. And that'll just keep going. And then the advertisement. While everything else is happening, the company can start making money off of you. So
And the way in the way they do that is by data. And how do they use the data? Well, you have to have great predictions of how this person's going to act on certain things, right? On a certain post.
I gotta go. I'll be right back. 1 second.
Okay. All right. So
Read that quote.
you need a lot of data to be able to sell people product. So the business model, in a way, is designed to get to know who you are, what you like, how you use things, the way you interact with social media, with certain posts of certain people, with certain things, and then from there they sell it to a third party, which is the sponsors, and that's how they make their money. They say, well, for example, Marco was and likes to spend X amount of time on this post. This post talks about a certain book, so now they'll sell you to the highest bidder. For it would probably be like something like Audible or Barnes and Noble will start popping up, and so you do that enough times, you're conditioning that person to basically accept that. And so and so let's just go back a little bit. So every action that you have or that you make on social media is literally being documented. How much time you spend on a certain post, how much time you watch a video, including this one on YouTube, your current mood, like things that trigger you. So basically, they're making a virtual avatar of you, and they have your personality type, your like whether you're high on neuroticism, agreeableness, openness, conscientious, extroversion, whatever that is. There, and actually, I want to talk to Greg about this because this kind of last time I mentioned something about it being a little bit of a voodoo, and so at this part of the movie, they get into what I just mentioned about how much they track your usage on certain things, how much time you spend on certain parts of the website, what posts you like, and so they create this like almost like a voodoo doll of you, and they use all that information and they sell it to the advertisers. And so my question last week to Greg was, doesn't that sound a little devilish? That even in the virtual world, you have this avatar of this person who you're kind of pricking. You're kind of picking at them. Like you like McDonald's. So they just blast you with McDonald's. And then eventually you'll be hungry, and then you're gonna go buy McDonald's. Mm-hmm. And well, do you know about the voodoo and like the Santa Maria and all that shit?
Santa Maria? You mean like Columbus, the Nina Pinta and Santa Maria?
No, I thought it was like voodoo, like dark voodoo art.
No.
Okay, so a voodoo doll, in throughout history, it's been basically about like, was it witches, kind of like making a like a
witch doctors.
Witch doctors. They would make sort of an avatar of you, or like a doll, and then they would curse you, right? And so, in the same way, these people are doing it in a virtual way.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
You could say that.
It might be a far reach, but
yeah. I mean, instead of stabbing you, they're putting a in your case, sparkling water advertisement or or dog food or yeah, I can see the similarity in what you're saying. I don't know. Did you read the quote about from Arthur Clarke? It says
Repeat it.
any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So it's like someone removing their thumb, doing that magic thing.
Right.
Like people were like, "Whoa, what the heck are you doing?" Or like, I don't know, like teleporting. People would act like they're teleporting, but they just have a twin, so they're not actually teleporting. People just
Mm-hmm.
didn't think about it. Stuff like that. When you don't understand it, it seems like it's not possible. And
No,
and
but
that's what they're doing.
is so plug it back into the social media.
So you don't think anything. Let's just go with Facebook. You put in your name, your last name, your
Email, phone number, whatever.
yeah. You put in your email. Some people put in their phone number. I don't think I ever have. But then you're like, okay, there's not really enough information, my name and my email to really do anything. Okay. But then within your profile, you put down your interest in books. You like, I don't know. Let's say movies because I can say more about movies.
Okay.
You put it on that you like
Zoolander.
The Avengers, the Zoolander. You like The Notebook. Okay.
All-time favorite.
Says now that says about you and what kind of movies you like. Now, would you advertise to someone an Avengers movie when they post something about being sad? No. So you look in their movies to see, okay, what would they watch when they're sad? The Notebook. Okay. Now, let's advertise The Notebook and see if they'll buy it.
So, within the same lines of this whole virtual voodoo doll that they basically create of you, they're looking at your biases. They're looking at your emotions. You know, it's I don't know. I don't want to say 3D business model because it's more, or no, 3D model of you because it's more than that. It's just data. It's being, the data is stored in a computer running a program that's basically giving them like, and I don't even want to say them because they actually talk about this, that it's not even, it's a few people that are in charge of all this giant amount of data, but the computer itself is running a program that is getting better at figuring you out.
Yeah,
day in and day out.
It's like if I walked up and you were crying, I would know that you're sad. If I walked up and you were smiling, I'd know you were happy. So it's the same thing. They just start piecing everything together. You go on Facebook in the mornings because why? Because you just woke up. You're not on Facebook between the hours of 10 and 6. Why? Because you're sleeping. Okay. But then as they get those pieces, they can piece together things within those pieces. Like, I'm not going to send you an advertisement while you're sleeping.
Right.
Because one, you may not get it. But hey, you wake up around 6 o'clock every morning. I'm going to send you one at 5:55 that might wake you up. But hey, now you're looking at me.
As soon as you wake up, when your alarm goes off, you'll see the notification. And that's where it begins, man.
Yeah.
That's where the day for them begins.
Mm-hmm. And one of the guys who was talking, he was one of the guys at I think it was Facebook that he was trying to figure out what the best thing was to get more users. And he said when everything was said and done, the only thing that came back that was the most important thing was to get 7 individual people to get 7 friends in 7 days. If that happens, that's all we need to care about.
Right.
And I mean, that takes me back to that movie. What's that movie? Pass It On.
Pass it forward, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
Yeah.
It's the same concept there. Yeah.
So, Greg, what do you think about the level of precision of the computer running these programs? It's basically saying it's like betting on you. Like, okay, I know Greg's routine. He's gonna get up in the morning. He's gonna go take a dump, but while he takes a dump, he's gonna watch cat videos. And so from there, it runs the code is programmed for the whatever app you're using to recommend the next video to keep you engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And while all that happens, they're pushing certain advertisements. Like for instance, if the night before you were looking on Amazon for like a mic, then the advertisement's gonna be like, oh, this mic is better for you, or this blah 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 blah. What do you think about the precision there? About how?
I mean, if you think about it too, though, isn't that a kind of a good thing at the same time? Like, wouldn't you rather want advertisements that actually make sense? Like,
that were relevant to your life?
Yeah, like if I got cat food advertisements all the time, I'd be like, ugh.
But you wouldn't buy it. That's the point. Like,
yeah, but at the same time, like, that's where the self-control comes in. If you have self-control and they're advertising microphones, you don't need one, then cool. But if you're actually looking for one and now they're advertising to you in that sense, then like, cool. Now you may have given me the information I needed.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's come to my awareness though that I don't ever buy from advertisements. Like the only time I buy from advertisements is if I get like something in the mail from like Target or Walmart and I see
like a coupon,
this thing's on sale, or there's like some kind of coupon. But when it comes to online, I don't know. I don't trust it as much as most people. I feel like if you see it online, it's most likely a scam. That's how I feel like I've been conditioned into thinking it.
Why? Did your parents teach you that way or what?
No, I've seen so much scammy stuff on the internet that I'm just so weary unless I know 100% it's good. Well,
we're lucky because we grew up with LimeWire. Basically, back in the day, in like 2002, 2004, you would go on this program to download free music. But the music came with it was basically a Trojan horse. It would give you a virus, or it would give your PC a virus, and then they would have all your information anyway.
Yeah.
Greg, what if that's how Facebook came to life? They were collecting our data back then in order to sell us the service or to sell us the app when we were older. I guess, you can collect credit card information if you're a hacker, but most of these people are hackers.
Well, that's one of the things I wrote down. It says hackers and programmers like to exploit vulnerabilities to gain an edge. So it's like what was it? There was some app out there that they were designing a game, and when they were designing it, they had put something in thinking this is exactly what's going to happen. And when they ran the program, something else happened, and they're like, "Oh, that's awesome. Let's just use this." I forget exactly what it was.
Fortnite?
But then
Minecraft?
No, I don't remember exactly what it was. But then that was a main part of that game. And people didn't know, it was just kind of a mistake. So
Flappy
vulnerabilities or something just to gain some kind of edge, they'll take it. It's the same thing with all businesses.
And the thing is that using this type of data that they've compiled, they can basically do certain things that wouldn't even trigger your awareness to it.
Yeah.
Like, you wake up in the morning, you typically eat, there are things like your routine. Like, oh, well, if you have Waze, that's connected to Facebook now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that you're like, you get up in the morning, you're the type of person who doesn't eat at home in the morning. Well, the program, the platform, the app knows that you're on your way to work, that maybe you didn't eat this morning, so they're going to be popping up McDonald's, popping up, whatever breakfast place, donut shop next to you, Starbucks, on the Waze app. And I told you about that last week. When you're driving and you're using Waze, on every stop sign that you have, or every like stoplight, there will be an advertisement for whatever it is, whatever you visited in the past, whether it's been Starbucks or McDonald's or maybe gas. And so you wouldn't even think about like, oh, you're not thinking like, oh, these guys are trying to control me. But it's gotten so good that they won't even trigger your awareness to it. Like, you're going to go to one of those three things eventually, and then it's going to become a habit. And I mean, that to me is crazy. Like, the fact that the average consumer doesn't know that really makes me like shaking my boots, man.
This is something Tristan said from the movie, because we were talking about it being tools earlier. You said moved from a tool-based environment to an addiction and manipulation-based environment. And there's another quote from someone named Edward Tuffle. There are only two industries that call their customers users: illegal drugs and software. I never thought about that till I saw that quote.
Oh my God.
I was like, damn.
Repeat that one more time so that people can listen to that.
There are only two industries that call their customers users: illegal drugs and software.
That, just let that sink in. Let that sink in, dude. Because when I saw that quote, it blew my mind. I never thought about it. I literally never thought about the fact that, what's your username? I never thought about that, man.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That's one of the other things too, though, that I think about is like situations change. There's gonna be enough bad and enough good in the world that maybe the social media came around and created some bad in like countries where propagandas and issues happen because of it. But then, like how you said, someone finds an organ donor in the other side of the world. So these things are good and bad. There's a little interview of Mark Zuckerberg, and it's him being asked a question in front of a court about if Facebook was good or bad. He's like, that's really kind of a hard question, because there's so much involved in it.
In what context?
There's so much involved in
Right.
it that I can't tell you if it's good or bad. It's just like, it's now that these things can be tracked that it becomes good and bad. It's like phone calls. There were plenty of phone calls that have been done that were great, and there's plenty of phone calls that have been done that were hits on people, and plenty of phone calls that were done to say where to take these drugs. Plenty of phone calls that were like, don't go to this house because they're gonna be there to kill you. Like, there's plenty of good calls and bad calls that were made, but now we can track this stuff on the internet, and we can see all the bad and good that happened. But like I said earlier, anything that's bad is going to get 7 times more attention than anything that's good.
Right.
And you see that in the news, especially.
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to touch upon this really quick. So you said that, I'm probably going to mess this up, but Chamath Palihapitiya?
Oh, I didn't really look into too much about him.
So he's the former VP of growth for Facebook.
Uh-huh.
But this is something that he said on one of the interviews. He said, "We want to psychologically figure out how to manipulate you as fast as possible and then give you back that dopamine hit immediately.
Yeah.
to give you that retention. And he says like they did that brilliantly on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Twitter, and they're basically hacking our brain. I mean, it's basically what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And all of this, all the things that we mentioned, they're just part of human nature. It's part of, back in the day, we would call someone, but now we're FaceTiming them, or even before then, we would go and talk to someone, and it's just part of it.
Yeah, so the part you're on right now is exactly what I wanted to talk about next.
What's that?
Is that family? So that they have the 3 parts: the interviews, and then they have like the part with the family actors.
Mm-hmm.
And so the family here, they sit down at the dinner table to eat and just have a normal dinner. And the mom wanted everyone to. She says, "I want everyone to enjoy the 5 senses." So what she means is she doesn't want any of the phones at the table. So earlier on, they show this like the mom and the oldest daughter sitting on the couch. They show this like infomercial for this thing where it was on Shark Tank, where you would put in food. So they put in cookies and you put a time lock on this Tupperware, and you can't open it until the timer's over. So the mom asks everyone for the phones to put it in the time lock container that she has, and she sets it for an hour and says, we're gonna have dinner together. And so at the start, when she locks it and everyone's sitting down, it's just quiet at the table. No one knows what to talk about, because obviously they have different interests, because that's why they're on the phone looking at different things.
Right.
So then what the sorry, who was it? The son's phone goes off in the container, so he asks if he can just see who it was, and the mom said like, no, you can't. We're gonna have dinner. You can check it after. And then the youngest daughter, out of the 3 kids, she gets up saying that she's gonna go get another fork. Get out of here. We know this excuse. And so she goes in the kitchen and she tries to open the container. And the mom's like, I set it for an hour. We're going to have dinner. You can't have it right now. And so then it kind of pans back to the family, and the family starts talking. And and then the youngest daughter, she kind of disappears. The family's just talking. And then all of a sudden you just hear this like cracking of glass. She went and got a hammer and broke the thing open, and then reached in, got her phone out, and took off running upstairs. And the mom was just like, what in the heck? We're just trying to have dinner, and she can't have dinner. She's got to have her phone. And so the dad went upstairs and went to go have the talk with the daughter, and so it was the mom and the 2 other kids. And the youngest boy went over. It seemed like they had transitioned to after dinner, so the young boy could go over and get his phone, and he discovered that his phone was broken. And so the oldest daughter, she's been kind of saying through the whole show, like, phone's not important, it's just giving you false information, yada yada yada. And so the young boy grabbed his phone and saw that it was broken. He goes, oh, my screen's broken. And so the mom makes a deal with him and goes, if you can go a week without it, I'll buy you a new phone screen.
Mm-hmm.
And he like hesitates at first, and he's like, oh, okay. So he goes and plugs his phone in so it charges, and then it's like, okay, and goes upstairs. And then the oldest daughter is like, hey, do you think he can do it, to the mom? And she goes, I don't know. Like, she already knows, like, he's not going to make it.
So what do you think the moral of that is?
Well, it's to show you that, like, the youngest daughter she can't do without it. There's an issue if you can't do without something.
So I think something important that I noticed was, I think they talk about, this guy Tristan talks about it. Mm-hmm. He mentions how these platforms, the social media, is designed to hit certain receptors in your brain to release endorphins so that you basically get addicted to it. They were never thinking about kids using it. And now Generation Z, the kids after them are us, the millennials. They grew up with this since middle school. So what happens to these kids, right? So now these kids are kind of like forced to get into the social media because of friends, peer pressure. And then you have these issues where they call it Snapchat dysmorphia, where the kids are like, especially younger girls between 14 and 18, and then like 16 to 22.
Yeah.
They're getting this mental, I would say mental illness, because they don't look like their Snapchat filters.
Yeah.
And they have this like false sense of reality and false sense of beauty, because the Snapchat filters are not actual, they're not real. We don't look like that. We all have our quirks, we all don't look the same. Everybody's got their quirks. And social media, the filters, they're using it so to engage people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's giving us a false sense of beauty, and it's really affecting girls' mental health. I think you may have the numbers, Greg, right? About the
I have it down here. So girls aged 15 to 19. All right, let's start with this. So this is for non-fatal self-harm, people going to the hospital for it. And it says girls aged 15 to 19 have been up 62% since 2009.
of what?
For non-fatal self-harm.
Okay. 62%?
Yeah, for age 15 to 19 in girls.
Damn.
And then girls age 10 to 14 are up 187% since 2009.
187%.
So they're trying to correlate that to social media, because that's one of the things that has been added within the time frame that has more attention than other things. So it has a higher chance of being an influence in these things.
Bullying, right? Bullying, the trolling.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, like they show it with the youngest daughter. She was doing something you would assume is like a Snapchat filter. She's taking a picture of herself, and the first picture she takes, she doesn't like, so she deletes it. The second picture she takes, she starts doing all these filters. She gets one she likes and she posts it. First friend, or like a heart emoji. Second one, so like beautiful. Third one, can you make your ears bigger? Elephant face, and then smiley face, and then like and then she gets all sad and she covers her ears up. And
so imagine that times 2 billion people.
Yeah.
No wonder the social media climate has gone to shit. Like, it's gotten so polarized because of stuff like that. Because we're treating it as reality when it's not.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you can say on social media without having consequences, real life consequences, that you wouldn't say in real life.
Well, this is one of the things that Tristan also said, is that we're not designed to be given approval or disapproval every moment. It's like we can't just live our life now because we're given some type of approval or disapproval every moment of the day. Where it's like, if we could have just, I don't know, it's like working out. You gotta have some approval to continue to want to work out. You have to get someone to compliment to you,
right,
or something, because we're so used to having to be told that something's good or bad.
And this is, I think, one of the points about this is that it's creating people with a false sense of reality.
Yeah.
It's people are committing suicide because they lost 100,000 followers. That's crazy.
Or someone loses their job.
Because they got doxxed,
job or something,
right? Yeah. No, but there's a thing like when a certain mob goes after people, they literally destroy your life.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's never in the history. Well, I guess the press, right? The newspaper probably had that power back then, but it wasn't so influential, I guess.
Yeah. And going back to talking about the like the avatars and how they're taking the information about you and starting to piece together things to get your emotions and all of that. Since 1960, the processing power that computers have to process all this data and information has gone up by about 1 trillion times. So it's like, imagine putting $1 stock into this thing. It's gone up 1 trillion. You're a trillionaire since 1940.
That is
Like,
insane.
and it says nothing else we have has improved by that rate, and our
Not-
brains have not changed at all.
No other technology. Cars, they haven't gone that much faster. Maybe they tripled in speed. Tripled. We're talking about 1 trillion times more processing power than the chip that was used in the computer to fly us to the moon.
Yeah.
If that ever happened, by the way, that's going to be another rabbit hole series. You know, that is crazy. So imagine what that's going to look like when it doubles and then triples, because it's compounding every year, right?
Because I mean that's what, like, Elon Musk has those chip things that's coming out. Like,
Neuralink.
What if now that allows us to process more? Because I mean, all like, think of a calculator. We can do 1 million times 1 million and get the outcome, but like, for us to do that in our head would take us some time. But are we still not getting the outcome with the calculator? Like, we don't have to process it. Something else is processing it, but we're getting the answer. And that's where this is going, is we're getting answers we probably should never have had.
Wow, shit, dude, that's right.
Or not have had in a certain amount of time.
There's so much information that we probably wouldn't have been aware of if the internet wasn't real or wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
You think that life would have been much better? Or do you think we would still be going at each other's throats? Because, I mean...
Well, there's different things to say life would be better. Like,
I mean,
I could have died when I was 20 because, I don't know, I
perceptually,
ate the wrong type of meat or something.
No, I mean, like, do you think humanity would be happier? Let's say that we had all the technology we had. We had fast cars, we could travel, we had planes. We just didn't have the internet. Obviously, we wouldn't have like GPS or anything like that, but you know, we'd still have like those old school maps. But then the maps were used because of the satellites. Right?
I don't know. That's one of the things I've always been curious about. Was it because the time we were in, was I able to make friends as a kid, like going somewhere? Like, when I went camping, I remember a trip. We went camping, set up our campground, and I made like 5 friends. Like, within the first 10 minutes of being there, we hung out the whole weekend. Was that because I didn't have a phone to go look at, or I wasn't preoccupying myself that I was able to do these things, or is that just what kids do?
Well, both. I think that the last time I was telling you about the comfort zone is that social media puts us in a bubble. You can sit at home and still kind of be a part of other people's lives, or communicate with people if you wish to, right? But you don't have to. You can literally lock yourself in your room at home, and not have to talk to people. You don't have to go get uncomfortable. It puts you in a bubble, basically, you know. And yeah, I mean, I think that has a lot to do with it. If you didn't have that option, you wouldn't stay home all day. Let's say you didn't have video games. You would not stay home. You'd probably be biking. outside. If you didn't have TV, you'd probably be outside.
Yeah.
Right? So all these things have, I guess, softened the.
See, that also confuses me though. Like, let's say I had to go outside because I would be bored. I would go outside. I'd ride my bike or go on a walk. But within those things, like if I went on a bike ride, more than likely I wouldn't do anything more than like ride my bike by someone and say like hi as I'm riding by. Like maybe when I stopped and maybe I'm standing next to someone and we have a small conversation or something. But the same thing, like if I would be at home playing video games, I'd still also have conversations, if not in my circumstance, the way I play, have more conversations. So it's like, there's not. You're still having some
But
sort
I'm
of
telling
interaction.
you, I'm telling you, yes, you are. But there's something. There's something. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is. An aura. I don't know what it is. Energy. A connection between two people. I don't know what it is. There's a difference between you having a conversation, a genuine conversation with somebody out in the real world, and you get into the conversation. It's much better than any conversation I've had over text in the group chat. Now, the only difference is the GIFs. That shit gets me every time because I'm able to communicate in a way where I can send the full idea, not just the text, but the whole idea, the visual, the imagery of what I'm trying to say. You know, and that gets me every time. When people send GIFs, that gets me every time, dude. Every time.
So going back to that, going back to the family within the show. The last part was the 1 week challenge where he plugged in his phone, and the son ended up. He would sit in his room and he didn't really know what to do. He'd straighten his shoes up, kind of clean his room, and kind of had nothing else to do anymore because he didn't know what to do. And so he went downstairs and he was down there and his phone sent a notification. And it was his ex-girlfriend got in a new relationship, kind of like a Facebook post. They got a new relationship. And so he looked over and he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. But then on the screen, he could see the notification and he was like, oh no. So he went and he checked it and now he's scrolling through it. And time goes on and he keeps scrolling. Time goes on. It's the end of the night. Time goes on. It's the next morning. His sister's ready to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't wake up on time. So now he comes out late to get in the car, says sorry, and sister knows exactly what happened, and so he failed the 1 week challenge. Yeah.
Right.
And he didn't think anything was wrong. And but someone else could see it, or the viewer could see it. So I feel, but see, like those kind of things don't really make sense to me. Like I would say that I spend more time on video games than I spend time doing other things. But if there was a challenge where it was like, I bet you can't do it for a week, I could do it. I could do it without it for a week. Like it's something that I enjoy to do and I would prefer spending my time doing it, but I don't have to do it.
I think that there's a couple of things there. I don't know where I saw it somewhere. I forget where I saw it. But someone said I'm not just enjoying doing something. I get joy from doing something. And there's a difference. Like, yeah, you may enjoy it, but does it fulfill you in a way to do it? Or are you just filling up time? Because I find myself in those shoes, like, especially throughout this whole quarantine, my whole routine changed. I used to get up like 6 in the morning. Like no, dude, like 5:30, almost 6, like almost 6 in the morning, and I would be out of my house by 7. I'd be at the office by 8, and then I spend 8 to 6 there, and then I'd drive back, and then I would have dinner, maybe put on a movie, depending on if we were doing this or if I had a meeting, or I was doing something else with the old ball and chain, you know? Now it's YouTube's right there, Netflix right there, my phone's right there. It's kind of like throwing a wrench in my routine, and I'm starting to feel the effects. I'm glad we're watching this movie, man, because it's bringing me back to reality. You know? I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, we can move on. So there's another part now after the family going back where they're talking about it's not necessarily trying to manipulate what you see. It's trying to assume what you would want to see. So like when you use a search engine, so if you go to Google, depending on where you are, what time it is, different aspects, and you search something. So they use, for an example, climate change. You type in climate change is and depending on where you are, it'll either say hoax, real, not happening, you're in it now, different things. And it's not just based off of your likes, it's based off of what's going on around you, what city you're in,
all the data, all the metadata that they have on you,
expecting what you would probably want to see,
right?
Not what they're trying to give to you necessarily.
So this is actually something that blew my mind in a way. I always thought, I'm like, oh well, Greg and I follow almost the same people, we should be up to date with certain things. That's not the case. I'm getting a customized, tailored feed to my liking, to my interactions with the platform. Then it's totally different from what you're getting.
Yeah,
you're getting something, totally different. We might follow the same people, but it may not be the same order. And like you said, depending on where you are, all of that's gonna change.
Yeah,
that to me is crazy.
One
like no wonder no one's on the same page on certain things.
Well, that's what one of the guys was talking about, that false information on these platforms are making more money than real information. So
yeah,
it's kind of one of those things.
Do
we keep going or no?
Yeah, what's one of the funny things about this is that they mentioned the Truman Show. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah,
dude, that movie was foretelling what's happening with social media. They literally build a world around you, and they make you believe that this is the real world, in a sense. And it's not until you unplug from the matrix that you find out that the world was actually not true. That the reality is not what you see on your feed.
Rumors become truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Yeah, it's just like viewing the music scene right now. Like what's popular. It's all about sex,
and
in a sense.
Yes.
And it's like
the wow factor.
Why is it all about that? Like, in what part of life, outside of maybe trying to find a relationship, which is in most cases 2 people, why has that become something that everyone needs to know?
Procreation.
But why do I need to know what you and your wife are doing? You know what I mean? Like that's what they're trying to. That's what they're exposing.
Because it's
like
taboo.
We need to know what you are.
Well,
no,
because it's.
I don't need to know what you guys did last week or 3 months ago or the first time you met. Like,
well,
it's
you
none
don't.
of my business.
Yeah, but you don't, because that's your personal preference. But there's people out there who'd be like, "Oh, hey, did you see that sex tape with Kim Kardashian and whatever that dude was?" There's people like that.
Yeah, but like now that's the
norm.
That's what they're pushing, and that's what people are now wanting to be interested in the sense of being manipulated into it. Like there's no like question asked when you're trying to get a job, like, who do you have sex with? Like, that's not a thing. Like, why do I don't walk up to you and ask you like any of that stuff. That's not something you just normally ask people. It's
you
something you
don't?
may talk about.
That's not something you ask on the first date?
So if you walk up and meet some guy, you're like, "What's up, dude? You have sex with girls?" No, you don't do that. You straight? You gay? Like, it's not a thing. You know what I mean?
But wouldn't you say that you assume?
Well, you assume based off of many things, just like how we assume if you're happy or sad based off of your emotion.
Yeah.
But now it's become more than that. And it shouldn't be more than that.
So, can elaborate a little bit more on that, because I'm getting like two different points of view there.
So we used to have the world into different tribes. So you have these tribes, and everyone war against each other, like United States versus Canada, United States versus France, or France or whatever. But now it's these subgroups like LGBT community, trans community, races, different races, communities, and it's just like
identity politics.
We're leaving it out of politics. Just we're trying to put everyone in the different groups, so we can try to dig into those other groups because they're not like these groups. But before, it was just living life, doing what you want to do if someone else is okay with it. But I don't need to know. Like, let's just say this: I'm not gay. If some guy came up to me and was hitting on me, and I say I'm not gay, I don't need to go past that. That's it. But now, if I say, "Oh, I'm not gay," now am I homophobic? Am I this or that? Like, now we're putting more thought into these things that didn't matter before. There's too many little things we can poke at, like how we're talking about with the witch doctor dolls. All these little things you can now poke at to hurt everyone else. And like I understand that there are things that are ridiculous. You say a name to this person or the name to that person, and it can hurt your feelings, yada yada yada. But I think we just need to live our lives and understand yes and no and likes and dislikes. But I don't need to know what Joe Slow-Mo down the street likes and doesn't like if I've never met the guy. You know what I mean?
Right, you ready for this?
But now the more data you have, the more decisions you can make.
You ready for this?
Go ahead.
That's I was gonna say not white privilege. That's straight white male talk.
But no, that's my point though.
I know.
Like
I'm just making fun of it, but I know what you mean.
You just don't need all this information. And that's the thing. We get too much information from too many people, and then some people get put on some pedestal because of whatever the time is. Like if you roll it back through history, you have people who would be considered in the limelight all through different histories.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps changing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just human nature.
Yeah.
Like, that's just human nature. We always need somebody to look up to, someone to idolize, someone to help, someone to destroy in many cases. That's just human nature. And these social medias platforms they know that. They have a group called growth hacking, who it's a specialized group of people dedicated to designing and coding this program in order to retain and figure out your psychology. It's everything within the psychological level.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Going back to the movie, one of the things they said was once any information starts, Like we put this video out, we say something, and then someone else responds to what we say and agrees with it, even if it's false. It'll be hard eventually to tell what's true and false.
So one of the things about these platforms is that the people managing it's too small of a group.
There's too much going on. Yeah,
it's too small of a group, and the data and the metadata from everybody who's using these platforms. Everyone is talking. One, they're having conversations. They're putting ideas out there. The company itself and the computer doesn't know what's real. They don't know what's true.
mm-hmm.
And so now actually we're starting to see certain things. There was a specific thing today that came out. I'm not going to get too much into it, but I do want to mention it a little bit. Again, it was something to do with Joe Biden's son and Ukrainian influence, and he was being paid to do certain things to influence the company, right? In the Ukraine. Well, the whole story was, I don't want to use the word censorship, but it was taken down from certain social media platforms. And I have to ask myself, is that something that like, 100 people were like, oh, you know what? Let's this is bad for us. Or was it the computer making those decisions?
Or yeah, I mean, if you also think about it at the same time, this is going through a court of law. It's also putting out information that shouldn't be publicly available yet. So did they do the right thing, but we're viewing it as a bad thing because maybe they're trying to, like, we see it as, oh, they're trying to remove it, but legally they have to remove it. Right. So it's like, where's the truth?
What's true, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the issue, because the issue is that there's so much data out there. We literally do not know what the hell is true anymore.
Yeah. The movie talks about the technology that's created isn't the existential threat. It's the ability of it bringing the worst out of society.
So basically,
and the worst in society is the real threat.
So basically, it's interpretation, which is the threat. Like, for instance, they talk about this instance of Pizzagate, and for a while, one way to engage people was to kind of put them in this rabbit hole of Pizzagate. Of it was like a pizza parlor in the Midwest who was like being allegedly accused of sex trafficking children, right? In this case was children. And it got to the point where some people actually started to believe it. And we go back to what the business model for these companies are, and they are to retain attention, to recommend the next video, to keep you there longer. So this person got so deep into the rabbit hole, he actually thought it was real. And well, whether it's real or not, I don't know if it's real. And basically what he did was he went and shot up the place. He got in there with the gun, and literally to go and be a hero in his own mind and rescue the children that were being sex trafficked, or they were being trafficked there. And like, that just goes to show, your point of, it's not the information that's the threat, it's what people do with the information. Like extremist groups across the world, they'll warp these groups that they create, these communities online, into believing their idea, whether it's inflicting harm on certain religious views or people or whatever it is, right? So is it the company's fault that people do that? And if not, or if so, how do they deal with it?
Yeah.
That's really deep.
Yeah.
How do they figure that out?
Well, how we were talking about processing power, they have different AIs, And it's just learning consistently every day how to keep you on longer and longer. It's almost, if you think about the Matrix movie, um, who's the bad guys in the Matrix? The dude that
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Smith is the AI, and he wasn't designed to be bad, but
he's got a job to do.
His job eventually became, if I can just get rid of them and I'm just consuming all the time, then I win. I did what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And that's what's being said. It's like eventually it's going to know how to keep us there forever. And do we need that?
Yeah.
Or do we want that?
Exactly.
And if you think about it, if it can get us to do that, then do we actually want that? If we want to do it,
that means that
you know what I mean? Like,
you mean social media?
If it can keep us on to whatever social media or on the screen, if it can keep us there all the time, we actually want that.
Well, that's actually one of the arguments is no one does something that they don't already want to do. That's where will comes in. If you're willfully open to suggestion, then you're obviously going to go on there and click on the advertisements and buy a product because you're already willing to be that susceptible. Or the flip side of that coin is this program is so darn good at getting you every time. Which one is it?
Yeah.
Is it both? Is it like you said? Sometimes there are things in your life that's relevant. You're looking for socks. Oh, well, it's on Amazon? Cool. I'm just going to order socks. Other times, you're not looking for anything. Yet, they make you click. So, I don't know, Greg, like going through this movie and doing 2 parts of a podcast about this movie and knowing now what you know about how social media works. Have you changed any of your habits on social media?
No, because I don't use it that much, really.
So, yeah. Well, same. I don't... I think that for me, it's more about like... I think the way I want to use it is to put out a good message out there. And maybe I haven't been doing that. You know, I think that I've refrained from posting things. Because I don't care about the likes. I don't care about the things. But I mean, this podcast is kind of is like a message for on my part, like of what I'm thinking at the time of this time and place in my life, and what I'm learning, and so I kind of want to share that with people. But so I'm thinking I may post things, but I won't necessarily be a consumer of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only other person that I know does this really well is like David Goggins. You know David Goggins?
Mm-hmm.
Joe Rogan. They always talk about, I never look at my comments. I don't care. They just push out a positive message, you know, whatever that is. And there's thousands of people, like hundreds of thousands of people just getting into comment, like into an argument. Oh, well, you know, he this guy's a sellout because of blah, 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 blah. And the guy's like posting videos of his dog. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that that's a good way to look at things. I wouldn't take social media to be real life. You kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. Kind of like advice, you know?
Yeah.
You kind of, someone might suggest something to you. You don't necessarily have to agree with it. And, you know, now that I think of it, critical thinking is by far the most important aspect of psychology that I can think of. The ability to think for yourself is the most important aspect of psychology.
Yeah. Well, the last quotes in the movie talks about whether it is to be utopia or oblivion will be a touch and go relay race right up to the final moment. That's by this is a crazy name, Buckminster Fuller. That's a name, dude.
That's a name right there, dude.
But
Okay.
whether it be utopia, because at the end, if it's utopia, it's great. If it's oblivion, there's nothing left.
I don't know, man. I'm not too much of a utopian guy. And I only say that because that to me is like wishful thinking. Look at us. No one's perfect. And you know what? If life was that perfect, it'd be so boring.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, dude. You know, I think we did we went above and beyond doing a 2-hour podcast on this.
Let's do this last thing.
Yeah.
At the end of it, they're talking about markets within the technology field need to be regulated because they're profit at all costs right now, and they want to get rid of the attention attraction model. It's not how everyone should be treated by just trying to get attraction on that all the time. Like, let people live their life. Like, some places where you go, restaurants aren't allowed to have colorful buildings. It has to be the color of the nature,
right?
Like the
right.
dark greens and all of that.
And
it's the same kind of concept in life. They're trying to let people live their life, but you can still give them a tool at the same time.
The problem with that is that now you're regulating a private business.
That happens everywhere with everything.
Well, there's oversight like FDA, right? For instance, like the federal, what is it called? Department of Agriculture. They monitor the way you farm, the way you bring food to the table. So maybe that's a good idea, but it's not in their best interest. They'd be losing a lot of money.
Yeah.
But how much money do these guys need? Like how much money do you need? You only I don't know, Greg. Can you want to search how many people work at Google right now?
I can.
I think that's something that would be really interesting because at the beginning of this movie, they say it's 50 people pulling strings and influencing 2 billion people. 50 people.
Number of employees, 114,000 people.
114,000 people, but that's like
as of 2019.
Okay, so that would be where
I think this is just the headquarters.
Shut up.
Yeah.
At Google? What? That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it says Google's headquarters, the Googleplex. Total assets 131,133,000,000. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Total assets is that
that's like things of value.
Yeah.
Things of value like product
yeah, so it just says total buildings. The number of employees is 114,100.
That's insane. That's a lot. Yeah. That's actually a lot of people.
Yeah.
What about like a place like Facebook?
Probably it's probably not as much. How many employees at Facebook?
I'm just wondering.
This says 52,500. But it doesn't specify the same way as Apple.
Yeah.
So that could be headquarters. That could be.
Well, the thing about this whole thing is with the good comes a lot of bad. And we have to make, we're obligated to make a decision that's going to affect the rest of our lives, the rest of our kids' lives. And what we do with the information that we just shared with you guys is key. What are we going to do? Are we going to stop being on social media? Or are you going to be responsible with it? Are you going to allow your kid to have a social media? And we didn't actually talk about this, but back in the day, when we were kids and we were watching Saturday morning cartoons, the advertisers were limited to things they can advertise. With YouTube Kids channel, that went out the window.
It went out the window for a very different reason, though. They don't advertise on YouTube Kids. YouTube Kids became the advertisement.
Exactly.
Like, the shows that the kids are watching are the advertisements now.
Right.
But that's actually interesting because my son watches a lot of YouTube
commercials?
Kids. No, I'm pretty sure there's not.
Maybe you haven't caught it.
No, because the reason they don't need commercials is because the majority of the shows on there are based on what commercials would be for kids. The toys, Paw Patrol toys. These people are playing with the Paw Patrol toys that are new and advertising it within the show. So there's nothing you can do about that.
Right. Oh, it's part of the show.
It is the show.
Dude,
so like
that.
If we wanted to have the new WWF wrestlers toys, there's actually a kid out there now who's playing with those toys.
Oh,
like,
Ryan Toys
that's
Review.
exactly what it is. Like, and that's all. That's majority of what's on kids' YouTube.
That is so crazy. That kid
you can't regulate that.
That kid is making so much money that we can't comprehend.
Dude, that kid's retired already.
Dude, he's retired. He's like 10 years old now, right? 12?
I don't know how old
I don't know.
He is now.
That's so insane. So, given this information, what kind of conscious choice? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but I'm just wondering, like, as a parent, like, this kind of makes you think about shit.
It's teaching the self-control of it. And if they don't have the self-control, then you create the self-control. So if I can see that my son can't give it up, he has no choice. He's going to give it up. And then he'll be able to, from that, he'll be able to not rely on it because he doesn't have it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm having issues just controlling my consuming. So I can't really speak on that. Man, that was a hell of a podcast, man.
Yeah.
We went deep. We went really deep. I'm sure we'll come back to this. You know, I'm probably going to watch the movie again. And I'm sure we'll come back to it another time. But anyway, I want you to read the last quote that you said to end the podcast. But before then, let's get to business, Greg. You know, if you've listened up until now, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can retain your attention because we'll get paid. And we'll use the money to make this podcast better for you. Like the video this video and all the other videos, hit the notification bell so that you can be triggered to watch us instantly. You don't miss a beat.
The reason you like it is so that we know that we're loved. And we don't get depressed.
We need your approval. We need to be validated in this world. We're human beings, so no, I'm just keeping it real with you guys. Anyway, you know, thank you guys for joining us again. Hope you guys took something home from this podcast. Let us know in the videos, comment section. Let us know in social media. Go check out our social media on Instagram. TPP is loading. That's at TPP is loading on Instagram, where we post the majority of things. And yeah, I think that's about it, man.
All right. Whether it is to be utopia or oblivion will be a touch and go relay race right up to the final